This is about what a superstorm does to a sailboat, and not just any sailboat, this sailboat. Super Yacht Wally Love, the $4.5 million 100-foot sailboat believed to be owned by Giorgio Armani, now rests on her carbon fiber side on the beach. Let's talk about what this means for us sailors when a storm like this hits us. Storm Dana hit Spain with winds of around 55 knots, gusting much higher. And as hurricane season approaches its peak in the Caribbean, it's important to note that hurricane winds will be much stronger than Dana. Dana is just a storm. What's hit the islands in the Bahamas and the Caribbean, and sometimes the US mainland, can be significantly worse than that. From her for sale ad, Super Yacht Wally Love, this Bermuda-rigged sailing yacht, was constructed in carbon fiber, fitted out with zero compromises, and delivered by Italian sailing super yacht titan Wally Yachts in 2007. She was designed by German Frères. He's designed some of the boats that we use. The master of combining sparkling performance with sleek looks and fine comfort, and her clean contemporary interiors are done by the yard's in-house team. A very thorough 2022 refit saw a whole host of mechanical and technical upgrades. These included new seacocks throughout, class requirement works, new running rigging, PBO backstay, Vectran steering cable, and new B&G Zeus chart plotters. This follows a complete overhaul of her Cummins engine, an Idramar watermaker, in 2021. She's in pristine condition, a step aboard and sail away proposition. Or at least she was. Her extra tall Southern Spars carbon fiber mast was serviced in 2020, giving it a clean bill of health to that and her existing carbon fiber rigging, fitted in 2016. A wardrobe of North Sails 3DI sails was new in 2017. Together, these combined to make Wally Love an absolute rocket ship, the ad says, with speeds of 12 to 16 knots achieved effortlessly. Wally Love was in harbor at anchor when the storm hit, and although the winds were moderate by hurricane standards, the surge flooding added to that, making it highly likely for anchors to drag, or rode to find a weak link, or moorings to fail. We can see from the video that many sailboats unhooked and dragged to the shore, laying over on their hull sides on the beach. This is tragic footage for most sailors and a steep warning to those of us in the path of hurricanes. If you're a Caribbean-minded cruiser, some important things to note here. A typical US or Canadian insurance policy demands that you do not sail your boat off the mainland US from July to November. And there's good reason for this. It's hurricane season in the islands. This is the span of time every year that hurricanes develop in the islands. It's also why we see sailboats piling up in Annapolis around October to attend the fall boat show. They really aren't allowed to be anywhere else at that point. And come November, almost all of them will be piled up in anchorages and marinas in southern Florida, waiting for November 2nd, that magic day where we're allowed to leave the US, headed for the Bahamas, the day the insurance company says the hurricane risk is over. As we approach September, peak season in the Caribbean for hurricanes, it's important for us to take heed from the stories like Wally Love. No sailboat is completely safe in these storms, so as cruising sailors, our best option is avoidance. And rule number one is to make your travel plans with respect to the season. You can spend November 2nd to around June enjoying paradise down in the islands, but after that, plan to have the boat somewhere else entirely. Some sail south below the hurricane belt to the southern end of Grenada and beyond. Many others sail back up to the mainland US. The daring will keep their boat in Florida, which statistically is a very good option, but the further north you take the boat, the safer it is. The Carolinas are an option, but more often than not, the safest option is to come back up to the Chesapeake. Hurricanes rarely ever make it this far, and when they do, they're often so dissipated by this time that they aren't really that bad at all. When you're making your sailing plan, following along with the crowd actually makes a lot of sense. Start in Annapolis in October like everybody else, hit the boat show with everybody else, and then when the show ends, you make a beeline south. You head for Norfolk, and then either ICW way down or hop outside and point the bow toward Florida, keeping a very close eye on the weather. Sailing the East Coast in October is actually a lot of fun. Pretty much every day at around 2 p.m. there's a good squall, which is a perfect time to stop for lunch. Plan your Florida arrival for very late October. So if you're running early, stop and see Savannah, Georgia, hang out in Jacksonville, spend a week in St. Augustine. You want to arrive in southern Florida usually 4 to 7 days before November 2nd, which gives you time to provision. This is your last chance to hit a U.S. grocery chain and stock up on the things you like and that you might not be able to find in the Bahamas. A word of caution, however, I did as most people do, and I overstocked everything with some weird assumption that the Bahamas was some barren wasteland without grocery stores. It certainly isn't. Over 400,000 people live there, and it's the richest country in the West Indies and ranks 14th in North American nominal GDP. They may just not have what you want at the grocery store, but believe me, you won't starve. Your diet will change to a lot of fish and seafood and local fruit and produce. The Bahamians eat very well on local catch, and so will you. Just dismiss that notion that you'll be able to grab McDonald's or something, because you won't. You're headed to the tropics, and it will be a much better experience for you on your boat to adapt to the saying, when in Rome. This philosophy will open you up to all kinds of new culinary experiences. Back to hurricane planning. You now have 8 months once you get to the Bahamas to get out of the tropics before hurricane season, and 8 months is a long time. But what's your plan? Some people will island hop slowly through the gorgeous paradise of the Bahamas with the final turnaround destination of Georgetown in the Exumas in March. That's when all the cruising festivities are there, and it's the peak of the Bahamas season with hundreds of sailboats hanging out in Georgetown, people just like you. After the festivities, the crowd splits. Some people are onward through the Caribbean, the Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic, with plans to land in Grenada for June, while others are headed back through the Bahamas to go toward the U.S. again. And there are 2 routes through the Bahamas too, the northern route and the southern route. Take one way down and one way back up so you don't miss anything, but also so you don't get bored. Not that you could get bored sailing in paradise. Some folks are more daring, however. Some folks stay in the Bahamas year-round or leave the boat somewhere inside that danger zone in what we call hurricane holes. These are places that are as protected as you can get, and all you can really do is hope that everything will be okay. Some have been down there for decades and never lost a boat, but alas, your mileage may vary. For most folks, taking the common ground is the best solution. Do your research and plan a year in advance for where you want to be and when. Talk to your insurance provider because they will want to dictate where your boat goes and when it goes there. And to be honest, it's really good advice. It's all based on statistical analysis of storms and people losing their boats. Caribbean islands from November to July, and then somewhere well safe during the off-summer months. Some even go toward the Rio Dulce in Guatemala, usually avoiding Honduras for fear of crime. The Rio Dulce is full of sailing boats, hiding as far inland as they can possibly get to avoid the storms, and they take the time to refit and restock while they're there before deciding where to go next. I hope this video helps you and you find it useful. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, and a huge shout out to patrons. The mission here at Lady K Sailing has always been to get more people sailing more easily, and I couldn't do it without you. To help out with that mission, please consider becoming a patron. Until next time, friends, keep the heavy side down, but not too far down. We'll see you.